So the last category of the test comparisons is quite possibly the most powerful and most used comparisons in shell scripting. So this category allows you to test the status of files and directories on the Linux system. First, we will start with string comparisons. In string comparisons, so basically we have different conditions. These all these conditions give you the ability to check file system files within shell scripts. They are often used in scripts that access files. Okay, so if you look into this, so the first comparison is before we have seen arithmetic comparison, the logics to compare between argument 1 and 2, but here these are string comparisons. In first comparison, string 1 equal to string 2, it checks if string 1 and string 2 are same, all characters are same, then um, it checks that, then it will the output would be, if they're same the output would be 1, if they're not same the output would be 0. So same thing will be applicable with all other not equal to condition and less than condition, greater than condition, and then we have 0 condition. Check for example, hyphen z string 1 checks if string 1 has a length of 0 or not, and if hyphen n string 1, in this case if that is the condition, checks if string 1 or str1 has a length greater than 0 or not. So these are different comparison operators that we use to compare the two different strings or same strings. So the equal and not equal conditions are fairly self-explanatory with the strings. So it's pretty easy to know when two string values are the same or not. So then what will we do is we'll take some example, and then we will uh, do one exercise before we move on to the file comparisons. So let's open and let me clear this screen, and then let's vim it. It's 4 underscore 3 comparison files. Okay, cd scripting ls clear, and after that vim it 4 underscore 3 comparison operators dot sh. Hi, let's begin with shebang and bin bash, and after that we'll write our first module. In our first module, the activity is to test the numeric comparison. First one is numeric comparison. This we have done it earlier, but let's do it. So we have taken two variables, value 1, variable 1 is value 1 and value is 10, value 2 it's 11. Now our first condition in if section is if value 1 greater than 5, then do this, or else another if statement, if value 1 equal to value 2, then do this or else do this. So this is one condition. So that anyway numeric one we have done it earlier also. So here one more, that is also numeric. So the second module of, let me check, okay, value 3. So for the second module, let me put one more echo, one more echo, one more echo. Yep. So this is our second module. Even here also same logic we have applied. Then the string comparison operator is what we want to stress upon at this moment. So here we have echo, that's the decoration, first two echoes, then string comparison for that. So what we have done is test user is the variable that we have taken, and we have attached a value to that. Then now we just want to compare. So we have used user here, user and environment variable. So that user, of course I'm a root user here, so in this case user is, if it is equal to the test user variable, then automatically the commands that are presented inside the then section will be then section will be executed, and then finally it will come out of that. So first we will check this one, specifically this module, and then we will and then we'll get back to this file, and then we'll check other modules as well as. So let me save and quit it, then chmod and o plus x and 4_3 comparisons. Oh, permissions are given. So now let's execute it and see. That's it. So first one is numeric comparison, that we are not bothered much at this moment. Then we have float comparison using floats. That is also fine for us. What is important at this moment is string comparison. So that is here. String comparison, just a minute. Yep. String comparison. So directly, this is not a bad user. This is not whatever that we have mentioned in the else has come up after comparison. So now what will we do is we'll clear this one, and then we'll vim it again, vim. So here the problem here is test user and the actual user are not same. Okay, that's why what we'll do is we'll add a user, and then I will change this test user to root, value of the test user variable to root, and let's see what is going to happen. Here it is. That's okay. Welcome root. that's what I want to say. Let's again get back to the file, and I'll try to explain more in depth. Okay, so now user, that's environment variable. If this is not equals to this, then this should be printed. But if it is same, whatever that is mentioned in the else should be printed. So that's what had happened now. So now user and test user is root, and user is also root. They are same. So that means we will get a non-zero exit status code. So then this if then it will directly enter into the else section, and then it will print welcome the test user. Okay, so that's what had happened here. I will execute. So welcome root, welcome root. Okay, so now we will look into a final module of string comparisons. So variable 1 is baseball, variable 2 is hockey. Now there is a comparison between variable 1 and variable 2. Then if val 1 is greater than val 2, if the exit status code is 0, then whatever commands that are mentioned in then section will be printed, or else it will be printed, the commands that are in else will be printed. Let's see what is going to happen. Baseball is greater than hockey. So val is greater than val2. So this is absolutely, so whatever that had happened in val1, actually it got in if section, we got the exit status code as 0. So whatever that is mentioned in the then has been printed. So now what will we do is we'll just interchange the variables. So here we'll put hockey, and then here we'll put baseball, and we'll see the magic, what's gonna happen. Yes, let's. Now hockey is greater than baseball. Okay, this is the misuse I was talking about. This is the misuse I was just talking about. Okay, so now we will look into the file comparisons. Till now we have seen the string comparisons. Now we will look into file comparisons. So in file comparisons, if you can use -d, just -d to check if file exists and is a directory. If it is -e, it will check if file exists or not. And if it is f, it will check if file exists as well as it is a file or not, because everything in Linux is a file. So that is the reason. If you just give -d option, so then it only checks whether it is a file, and after that if whether a file exists based on that name or not, and also it also cross checks whether it is a directory or not. Similarly for capital G, it checks if file exists, and the default group is default group is the same as the current user. Similarly WX, if the checks if file exists and it is executable or not. And -w, it checks if the file exists and is writable or not. And -s, it checks if file exists and is not empty. And similarly we have file1, -nt, file2 checks if file1 is newer than file2 or not. So these file comparisons are heavily and very much useful for a system administrator when he is handling with a lot of files. These are very important, just focus on this. Okay, and file1 -ot, file2 checks if file1 is older than file2 or not. So these file comparisons are very beneficial. So these conditions give you the ability to check the file system files within shell scripts. So they are often used in scripts that access files. So now what will we do is, before we move on to the another section, so we will go to our WSL and let's do one more exercise. Let me clear it off, and then Vim 4 file comparison, that's what we are going to do. So let's. Okay, yep. So first, as usual, shebang bin bash is done. Now testing the file comparison. This is our first module in this echo checking directory. So let's take one variable, that is a jump directory. That is our variable name, and then we have given a directory, a sample directory. That is home directory of Charan user. Then we have a first if condition, that is -d. It has -d will check whether it is a file or if whether that file exists or not. And then it also check whether it is a directory or not. If it is a directory, then we'll get the exit status code as 0. Then whatever conditions that are mentioned inside this then section will be executed, or else or else whatever commands that are mentioned in the else section will be executed. Let's see what is going to happen. But okay, but before that let me give permission for others to execute this file. Yeah, just a minute. Okay, here it is. Here it is. So, checking directories. Yes, it is. The home forward slash Charan directory exists. As it exists, then whatever commands that are mentioned within that has been, that's what in then statement, this is what is mentioned, that this one has been executed. If you have doubt, I can show you that. Okay, so let me go to the cd. Of course, I don't need to go lsl and then lsl of home. Here it is. Here it is. Charan. It's a directory. Okay. So next we'll put test and we'll see what's going to happen. In spite of that, we'll put test. Let's see what's going to happen. So let me go up, scroll up a bit. Yes, checking directories. The test directory also exists. So let's change it to Divya and let's see what's gonna happen this time. Check home directory. I'll scroll it down a bit. Yep, just a minute. Here it is. I think. Okay, let me execute that one more time. Yeah, so yep, here it is. So checking directory, the home or Divya home and then Divya directory does not exist because it does not exist. So whatever that is mentioned in the else has been printed. If you have a doubt, I will show it again. It is not an issue. L and then forward slash home. Here it is. You have Charan, Surya Charan Tej, test. That's it. No Divya in this. So that's how it works. Then we will move on to another module. That module is done. Now this time checking for a file again. This time the variable name is item type, item name, and then we have taken home as our environment variable. The output of the home environment variable is assigned as a value to the item name. Then this is our first condition. Here we are using option E. So option E means what? It just checks the file if exists or not. That's it. Nothing else it will do. If such file exists with this name, then it will do the item and then item name does exist. The item name does exist, but is it a file? We are not sure. For that, we have written a nested if loop inside that. A nested in if loop inside that. Okay. For that, we have taken F option. So F option means it checks if file exists with that name and also it checks whether it is a file or not. And so it checks that if it is a file and if it file exists, then it will print commands that are mentioned in the then section, or else it will just print which are mentioned in else, and finally it will close it, and it will come out of the nested if and final else. At higher level else is this. Okay, so let's check this one first and then we'll come back. The second module testing is going on now. Let's see what's going to happen. Yes, first one is done. Now checking for a file. The second one, the item being checked, that is a root, the home address. For because I'm a root user in this, so root user's home address is obviously a root directory, so that's correct. Then we are checking whether it is a file or not. So it's a directory, the item, but is it a file? That's the next question. The root does exist, that we have been proven. Then is it a file? That's the question. After that we are entering into nested if loop. No, root is not a file, it is a directory. That's what it is saying. And checking for the read access. Okay, you got it. This is how these if loops are helpful in automating the system administration process. Okay, so now let's go to the file again and then come down a bit, the third module. So once that is done, now we are entering into the third module. Here testing if you can read a file or not using these techniques. So pw file is our variable. So what is the file name that we have attached? Shadow is the file name that we have attached to the pw file. Now we will call a file and we'll take another variable, file name, and then home address and sentinel. Okay, I do not know whether a sentinel this directory exists or not, but let's check. And first thing, f will check, is it a does a really file exist with such name? If exist, is it a file or not? That's what it's gonna do. Okay, so now after that, if it is a file, then automatically here we have given a nested if loop with s. So s, it checks if file exists and is not empty. Okay, so and then else. Okay, let's get back to the, just a minute. Yep, yeah, we'll check it. We'll execute it one more time and we'll check. Yep, so checking for the read access, and we got all the information. That's shadow file. So Charan, and then encrypted password for the Charan and everything. And finally checking for the empty files. Yes, that is done. And after that, the last module, in that we gave the root sentinel. This kind of directory does not exist, so that's the reason at the initial level itself we came out of the statement.